Welcome to the HMO Property Show. By investors, for investors. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a new landlord, or just curious about property investing, this is the podcast for you. Sponsored by the Co-Living Collective, your trusted partner in creating vibrant and sustainable shared living experiences. Visit us at colivingcollective.com.au to learn more.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show, episode 200. Wow. I had a really cool guest lined up for today for the 200th episode. And with everything that's going on in the property industry in general and the things that are changing in Western Australia too, I thought it was a great guest to bring on for such a milestone episode. However, he had to cancel at the last minute. No. So you're stuck with me again, unfortunately. And what I wanted to paraphrase around this episode is, it's okay when things go wrong. It's okay when things don't go to plan. It's okay to fail, because when he messaged me, I was like, oh, this would have been just the perfect episode for this person. So much going on. And then I was like, the lesson is in the fact that he couldn't make it. The lesson is in that we had to adapt and pivot. And I think pivot's just a fancy word for fucking make something up and get on with it. And, you know, if I freaked out about it, like some people would have, then I could have just totally forgot about the fact that it was the 200th episode. So I want to thank everybody, first and foremost. I want to thank all the listeners, everybody that's commented and shared and listened to the podcast. It's had like over 250,000 hits, which incredible, really, when you think about it. The reach that podcast can get, the information and content that you can share with people is incredible. And yeah, I want to thank everybody that's been involved, all the guests, everybody behind the scenes that helps with it, and most importantly, the people that listen to it, because without you guys, it wouldn't be worth doing, right? So thank you. Really appreciate it. So I want to come back to the it's okay to fail and it's okay for things to go wrong. Like, we can control the controllables, right? But failure when things go wrong doesn't mean we stop. Failure is part of the process. Like, everybody that has built something, built a business, built a property portfolio, has a good relationship, I guarantee you right now, it has not been a straight line from start to finish. The journey of life in general, and I was speaking to someone in my team the other day, just going through, you know, just a lot of personal stuff, and I was like life has this thing of throwing these curveballs at us, right? It doesn't matter if you've got a successful business or property portfolio or stuff like that. When you get in, the kids are still sick at this time of year because it's the middle of winter. You know, the wife still needs attention. Things in your family are still going wrong. Like, all these things go wrong, right? We've still got to try and somehow stay focused on our goals and focused on the life that we're trying to generate for ourselves, and understand that failure is part of the process. And the question isn't, are you going to fail? The question is more, how do you react when things don't go well? Because Ryan Tuckwood, one of my coaches that I worked with one-on-one for 12 months, he used to say there's an acronym called ARM, 3 things that you can control: your actions, your reactions, and your mindset. Control them 3 things. And when things do go wrong, and things will go wrong, then you can control your action. You can control how you do the thing. And whether you do it right or whether you do it wrong, your reaction to the outcome is also controlled by the mindset that you operate from as well. And this is why personal development and books and podcasts, and surround yourself with the right people that have been in your shoes or are in the position that you want to get to, is super, super important. So I want to pick some companies out which you will know the name of, but you will not, well, some of you might, but not all of you will know the history of them and how they became the brands that they are today. So one of the most common ones that you might know is WD-40. WD stands for water displacement. On its 40th attempt, 39 failed attempts before they actually got it right. And now that product is in around 80% of Australian homes. No one knows the 39 failures, but they remember the product. They see the product on the shelf, WD-40. That's what I put on my squeaky wheel. That's what I put on my bike chain. That's what I put on the door hinge, because it's the best product for that. But it took them 39 failed attempts to get there. not one. Nobody starts a business and it's just a straight line. The Post-it note. So 3M was trying to make a super strong adhesive, and he made one that was barely sticky at all. It was kind of like a failed glue, and it just sat unused for years before a colleague realized that the weak bond was the entire point. And Post-it notes became one of 3M's best-selling products of all time. I had to ban them from my office at one stage because it was just, I walked past somebody's monitor and they were surrounding the full monitor in a rectangular sort of shape. I was like, what are we doing with these things? They're just scattered all over the office. Don't get me wrong, they have a place. We've got our planning day coming up. And on our planning day, we get people to write stuff down on Post-it notes and we stick them on walls. So yeah, Post-it notes are cool. Nintendo started in 1889, selling playing cards in Japan. Playing cards, Nintendo. You would never associate Nintendo with playing cards. Over the decades, they tried a taxi company, a love hotel chain, instant rice, a vacuum cleaner. All of them failed. And in the 1980s, they pivoted into video games. Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, the Game Boy. And by 2018, they were generating $10 billion in annual profit. 135 years from playing cards to the Nintendo. And they finally got it right and started making money. And I'll give you one more. Slack. If you're in business, if you work for a business, Slack is a messaging system, but Slack actually started off building a video game called Glitch, and the game failed and they shut it down in 2012. But while building it, they created an internal messaging tool to keep their remote team connected, and that tool became Slack. And today, Slack is valued over $1 billion within a year of its launch. The failure funded the success. The failure was the actual success. It's okay to fail, guys. It's okay to set off on one path and change onto another. You can set a goal and work towards that goal and just be like, that goal does not light me up anymore. I need to change my goal. I've changed goals halfway through the year. I've also hit all of my goals halfway through the year and then set more goals for the back end of the year. We call them stretch targets. I'll give you one more. This wasn't really a failure, maybe a failure from another product, which then prompted this person to go and build their own product. So Ferruccio Lamborghini was a successful tractor manufacturer, and he owned a Ferrari, and he had a complaint about the clutch. So he went to Enzo Ferrari directly and started giving him feedback on what they needed to do to improve the clutch on that car. And Ferrari told him, a tractor maker has no business telling me about sports cars. So Ferruccio Lamborghini went on to build the Lamborghini sports car that we see and hear all over the streets today. Not really a failure, like I say, but somebody else's ignorance prompted somebody to build potentially something better than them. I'm not saying Lamborghini's better than Ferrari. I like them both the same. I think they've got a different market for each. I feel like the Lamborghini's for the young, aggressive entrepreneur, the loud, flashy entrepreneur, and I feel like the Ferrari's the more the 40-plus-year-old car. Could be wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments. But I also had the privilege of sitting down not too long ago, myself and Joe. We caught up for a coffee with two friends who've just sold a business for, I think they said $44 or $45 million. Staggering amount of cash, money in the bank, happy days. Caught up for a coffee with them, and the guy that started the business, he started telling me about the story and the things that were gone wrong, because what you hear is they started a business and they sold it for 44 million. And you're like, oh, that sounds cool. I want to do that too. But when you sit down with the founders of businesses, you'll find out that no business is easy, right? It takes discipline. It takes commitment. It takes hard work, early mornings, late nights. Like, businesses are hard in the early days, and you get to a stage where you start hiring more people. Your marketing brings in more leads. That generates more income. You hire more people and you build systems and processes, and the system runs the business, and the business runs the people. The people run the system runs the business. There you go. I love butchering a quote, don't I? My 200th episode. But yeah, sat down with these guys and he told me all the things that gone wrong. People that came in the business, people that wanted out of the business, them getting attacked, them moving offices, them having really low cash flow at times. And, you kind of listen to them stories and you sit there and you know they've got the cash in the bank, and you're like, it's nice to hear that it's, from the outset, it sounds like a very straight linear line from start to finish from where you are now to being successful. But that is not the case. It is far from a linear line. And if you've ever seen one of them pictures on Instagram or Facebook where it's like what people think and it's like a straight line from left to right, And then it says what success really is. And it's got, fireworks and pits and shark-infested water, and the rope actually disappears at one stage and you've got to work out how to get across there. And that's what success is, right? It's not easy. Being a property investor, the government have just changed the rules on everybody, right? For years and years and years, people have built wealth and followed the government and said, the government have got my back. They're going to give me 30 cents back on the dollar if I lose money, but if I buy a property. And now they've just pulled the rug from under your carpet. Pull the carpet from under your feet. Hi, I'm Butcher and I need more coffee. They've just pulled the rug from under our feet. They changed the capital gains tax rules. They've changed the superannuation. I mean, why give somebody what's called a self-managed super fund? We will give you the opportunity to manage your own superannuation, but we won't give you the opportunity to invest in real estate, in residential real estate. Fuck, what a dictatorship this is turning out to be, right? I've seen a lot of my friends. I've got a really good friend who, he's had enough. He's moving him and his family to Abu Dhabi in the Middle East. And when he told me, I was like, I'd never leave Australia. But the fuck, it's just coming at us from all angles at the minute, isn't it? There's got to be some relief sooner or later, because the government are just taxing us left, right, and centre right now. Tax you on your wages, the taxes on you when you pay for something through GST, the tax you on the money that you make, the tax you when you buy a house, stamp duty, the tax you when you sell it if it's an investment property, capital gains tax, the tax you on your profit that you make from your rental income. Oh my God. Anyway, I want to tell you a little story. If you've been following the episodes for a while, you'll understand or you'll have probably heard the story before, because when I first started out in real estate, I didn't have any money. I had to do joint ventures, and we did, 5 or 6 renovations. And the natural progression for a property developer is to start off doing renovations, and they generally do, a 1 into 2 subdivision, renovate the front house, and then subdivide the back off and sell the back block. And then they might transition into a kind of triplex sort of deal. And I've always been ambitious, probably too ambitious at times. And I went from doing 6 renovations, all profitable, money in the bank, to doing what I wanted to do was a 4-unit development, a townhouse development, because I was seeing everybody online doing townhouse developments and making 300-400 grand a year. And I found a site and I put some plans together, and the numbers look good. And the numbers look good because I was using my numbers and not real numbers. So I didn't really, I used very high level numbers from the builders. I had no system, I had no process. And I also put a figure on what I hoped they would sell for, not what they would sell for. And when we got DA approval on that site, the build prices came in even higher, and the agents that said that they could sell these properties give me a really low price. All of a sudden, the project didn't stack up, and I really struggled to get the finance over the line for it as well, because once you go over 3 units and you move into 4-unit territory, different lending, different ball game altogether. You go from standard resi stuff to commercial construction lending, and it's a pain. And so basically the project didn't work, but what I did is I changed it from 4 double-story townhouses to a 5-unit site. There was 2 double-story kind of loft houses at the front, single-bedroom dwellings, and then I built 4 more dwellings on the back now. Sorry, 5 altogether, so 2 at the front, 3 behind it. And because there was a lot of single-story stuff in there, it brought the total development costs down by like $500,000, so less cash required to do the deal. And we didn't sell them for as much as what I thought the 4 townhouses were going to sell for, but the profit margin was actually higher building the smaller dwellings than it was building the 4 townhouses. So we resubmitted development approval, got the job costed up. And like, if we just purchased the property and built, there would have been a very, very strong profit margin in that deal for me. However, because time kills deals, we held that deal for too long, and we ended up, like, I could see that when we finished that project, because we got a few pre-sales to get it away as well, but we knew that when we sold that project, we were going to be $200,000 in the red, which is not a nice place to be. And I was, like I said, I was too ambitious. I thought everything I was doing was turning to gold, and too overconfident going into this deal. I thought I was Donald Trump. Everything I was touching was making money at that stage, and it was working because I had a system to follow for renovations, but I didn't have a system to follow for developments. So what I did to offset that loss, because I could see it coming, however, there was still a 12-month worth of construction ahead of us. We started doing letterbox drops, and I managed to secure a seller joint venture. It was a 1:3 subdivision. The problem is a lot of my cash was tied up in that other project, so I had to raise capital from joint venture partners, and I used that capital to execute the subdivision on somebody else's project. So I didn't own the house, and I didn't have any of my own capital in there. And the loss that I made on the other project, I offset with the profit from this project. It took me 10 months from start to finish to run the subdivision, get the titles, renovate the front house. We sold that. We sold the 2 rear blocks at the back, and we made a very, very healthy profit. So what that loss actually made for me, it made me more risk aware going into every deal after that. It made me put a system in place, a very rigid system. I question everything now. And, we've gone on to build over 400 houses right across Australia. We've delivered, when everything's finished, we'll have delivered over 2,000 rooms to the market. Would I have done that if I didn't get into that deal at the very start? Who knows? Who knows? The universe has a very strange way of pulling us into all of these different areas that it wants us to be in, right? And I think we all have these opportunities in front of us. These opportunities will pop up at times. But you've got to be ready to see them, and that comes by setting goals and telling the universe what you actually want, and you understanding what you want. So when the universe drops that opportunity in front of you, you can see the opportunity. You can see it and you take the opportunity. Now, even if you set goals, and even if you know what you want, and even if the universe dangles this opportunity right in front of your face, there are times when you will not take that opportunity because you might think it's too risky and you don't want to fail. But failure is part of the journey. Failure is part of the journey. And I might have told you this story before. I had the privilege of meeting a billionaire, and he's a very private man. You can't find him on social media or anything like that. And spent a bit of time with him. And one of the things he said within about 20 minutes of me meeting him, he told me that the universe has ways of doing things for us. And you've got to put it out there and the universe is going to test you. And that was an interesting comment coming from somebody that's built so much wealth in the mining industry. And for him to sit there and come across like a little bit woo-woo made me realize that maybe the universe is a thing. And I believe it is. I really believe you've got to put it out there to the ether. You've got to write your goals down. There's something magic about putting pen to paper and telling it what you want and feeling what you want and going out there and chasing it. The lessons are in the doing. You can do any course you want. You can do the Cashflow Academy if you want, still priced at $4,995 until the end of July, and then it's going up to $5,995 when I start doing live calls into the group. If you want to do the Cashflow Academy, I'll put the link in the comments below. But deal after deal after deal, you will get more and more confident. And when you first start, you might do a course, and then you do another course and you think the next course is better. But you can do as many courses as you want, but the real lessons, the real education, that comes in the doing. And if you go out there and do a deal yourself and you don't make much profit on it, let's say you go out there, you do a renovation and you make $5,000 profit. Should you be beating yourself up because you only made $5,000, or should you be absolutely over the moon because you made $5,000 in your first deal? You learn how to write up an offer and acceptance on a deal. You learn how to negotiate on a deal. You learn how to do a feasibility on a deal. You learn how to manage your trades on a deal. You learn how to pick the right agent to sell the property for you at the back end. And there's lots of lessons that you could do. You should stop and look back at over every single thing that you do and go, where did it go wrong? What can I do differently? How can I be better? And how can I take that into my own personal life as well as into these projects as well? So 4 questions that you can ask yourself when things go wrong. Why did it go wrong? Very, very simple. What went wrong? What was the root cause? Was it timing? Was it execution? Did we have the wrong people? Did I not follow the process? Did I even have a process? How did it go wrong? What was the sequence of events? What were the first warning signs that we might have missed that we can take into the next deal? Because if you know, that's where it went wrong, and then you go to the next day and you go, right, or when we were doing this, it went wrong in that deal because we did this, or what we need to do is be extra diligent about this section here. Next question is, what can I do differently? And, being a male, I'm just like, well, we just work harder. But working harder is not necessarily the outcome, right? Sometimes we need to work smarter. There's a smarter process, a different sequence, a better structure. Hard work comes in the back of it, right? Hard work definitely comes into this. You need to work hard enough to not have to work hard again in the future, which is bizarre, right? Because I work harder now than I've ever worked, but I actually love what I do. Love what I do. I've probably got another five years of going at this pace, and then then I'm going to sit back and enjoy the fruits of my labor. And then the last question you need to ask yourself is, who do I need to speak to? I read a book before called Who, Not How. It's not how do I do it? Who do I need to find that can do this for me? Because nobody has all the answers themselves. Somebody else has already solved this problem. If you're doing a real estate deal, somebody else has already done the same deal as you. The process of a deal is very similar. Somebody has already probably solved the problem. You've got town planners, land surveyors, professional renovators, builders, tradies. Like, speak to these people and say, I've got this problem. How would you solve it? And then if that's not good enough, find yourself a mentor, a coach, a specialist, someone who's been there, done that, got the blood, sweat, tears, the T-shirt, the lot. And don't let this episode stop you from doing something because of the things that can go wrong. Because the real failure in my eyes is the cost of inaction. When things go wrong, it can cost you money. But how much money is it costing you by not even trying? Think about that. How many deals have you let go because you're looking for the perfect feasibility? You're looking for the perfect deal. You're looking for a risk-free investment. Everything has risk attached to it. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything. There is risk with everything that you do. Investments, work, life, relationships, kids, wives, husbands. There's risk in all of this. Do you pick the right person? And picking the right person has got everything to do with being successful as well, I believe. But most people never get to where they want to because they're too scared of things going wrong. They'll never do a deal because they can't find the perfect ROI. They never pull the trigger. They'll never build wealth. They've got a bank full of money that is just getting eaten away by inflation every single year. Every single year. The cost of inaction is more expensive than doing something wrong, because if you do something wrong, you can learn how to do it right the next time, and you can go out there and do it right the next time, just like I did with them 2 deals there. And that's led on to building the business that we've got, the portfolio that we've got, doing the deals that we do, the investors that we've got, the people in our network that we've got. This is, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Some people might just find this now and go, who is this guy chatting away on his podcast? What's he done? I've been in the trenches for 10 years, over 10 years. 2015 is when I first did my first course, my first renovation. And from there, we've done deal after deal after deal after deal. We're still doing deals now. We've picked up a couple of sites in Melbourne just recently for some rooming houses that we're building. It never ends. It never ends. I love the game. I love the deal. I love the process of putting a deal together. I love negotiating. I love creating win-win outcomes for myself, for the investors, and for the people involved in the deals. I've got this mentality that I want everybody to come in on the journey with us. This isn't about me and my wife trying to make as much money as possible. This is about me and my wife and the team and everybody around us all coming on this journey, all learning, all growing, and hopefully all investing and all taking the things that they're learning from this business and implementing it in their own life as well. Because nothing worth having comes easy. Everything that you want in life is at the other end of the hard work that you are avoiding. Nothing is going to drop into your lap. Nobody's going to give you anything. And every person you look at and call successful is just failure after failure after failure, and problem solved after problem solved after problem solved. And, hopefully some of these stories that I've told you today with some of the people in my network, it's like these guys, it's just that even if you think of Apple, right? And Amazon, they've brought things out that just you would never have heard of. And you think about the companies that I've told you about there, WD-40, Lamborghini, Nintendo. The mistakes don't have to be catastrophic $1 million mistakes. They can be small mistakes. They can be a phone call that doesn't go the way you want it, but put the phone down and think about, well, what went wrong with that phone call? Why didn't I get the answer that I wanted? And pick up the phone and call somebody else and try that a different way. Try having the conversation a different way to see if you want. Because when you become an entrepreneur or a business owner, or even just getting into the real estate space yourself, when you solve one problem, the reward for solving that problem is a bigger problem. And as you become more successful, the problems get bigger. They have bigger zeros attached to them. But when you solve them, they also have bigger zeros attached to them as well. And if you're wanting to build wealth and you're wanting to build a life that has time and freedom and travel and experiences, then you are going to have to take risks. You are going to have to solve problems. You are going to have to overcome failure, because it's going to happen. but you've got to stack them things on top of each other so that the success at the back end is much bigger than the failures that you're facing. Now, I want to talk about the 80-20 rule, because if you're a beginner starting out, it's 80% psychology, 20% execution. 80% is just getting yourself to act. It's overcoming the fear. It's double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking, quadruple checking your feasibility. I'll keep going. But this is called analysis paralysis. You're not stuck on the deal. You're stuck in your own head. The numbers might work and you might be just chopping and changing the numbers because you think this deal looks too good, or this deal doesn't look good enough, or this deal just looks average and I want it to look better. Like, the numbers are the numbers. The feasibility is a feasibility. If you put shit in, you get shit out. But if you put good numbers in, you get good numbers out. And the way to get good numbers is to ask questions. Ask people questions. What did you do? Last time we did this, what did it cost you? I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think this would cost? If you ask enough people, you're going to start seeing a sort of trend where you're understanding you'll start to group the answers together and start going, oh, this answer keeps popping up more and more again. Maybe that's the right answer. Then stress test it. But you got to back yourself. You got to trust yourself. You got to trust the numbers. And as you do more deals, the psychology becomes automatic, because you've seen what goes right. You've seen what goes wrong. You've done your courses. You got your mentors. You got your systems. You got your processes. You got your feasibilities. So you got to back yourself. And then over time, that 80-20 flips and it becomes 20% psychology and 80% execution. You just start executing. You start seeing deals. You start feeling deals. You got joint venture partners backed up behind you, ready to invest in your deals. And all of a sudden, the psychology piece is just so ingrained in you that it just becomes natural and you're just out there executing. And as you do more deals, it becomes more automatic. So there you go. There you go, team. 200 episodes. I started coming on here telling you that I had a great guest lined up for episode 200 that was in line with all the stuff that's going on in the world right now of property development in Perth or real estate in Perth. And I hope you enjoyed that episode. And I'm going to finish on this tagline because I haven't for a long, long time. And I think it's relevant because every master was once a disaster and every winner was once a beginner.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you can stay up to date with all cash flow positive property updates.